Hello, 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 and welcome to a very hot, marvelous Monday on Miss Hope's Reading Hour. My friends, I'm so glad to be here with you. Hopefully, you had an awesome weekend. So, this weekend, what did I do? I mostly did homework. It's not bad, okay? Because I'm almost done. I'm this close to being done for the semester, okay? But hello, David. My nephew's on. Hello. All right. So, my friends, I don't know where you live, but in Philadelphia today, it is hot. It is very hot. So, I was like, well, what kind of books are we going to read today? It is hot. It's steamy. Now, if you saw the teaser, okay, I told you, have a cool drink. So I have my cold sparkling water here because it's hot, okay? And, when you see Miss Hope's Reading Hour, you see this wonderful lighting. Yeah, lighting's hot, okay? But it is hot today. Hopefully, when it cools down a little bit, closer to like when it's about to be sundown, hopefully you will be able to go outside, run around a little bit where it's not too hot and you won't feel really bad because it's hot outside, okay? So hopefully there's a breeze tonight wherever you are. You can get that good nighttime breeze. Ooh, even doing this with my hands, it feels so good because it's so hot. But today we are going to talk about some animals. We're going to read about some animals who live in hot weather places because it's so hot today. It's not even officially summer yet. I think the official start of summer is like the 20th or 21st of June. Oh, and it is only the 7th, okay? But it is near the end of the school year. On Friday will be the last day for students in the Philadelphia School District. So I want to give out a great big congratulations to all of you students who made it through school virtually, hybrid, being online completely, being online and in school, or just being completely in school. This last school year and this school year was crazy, okay? And I wanted to say to all of the students, whether you are in kindergarten or preschool, or you are graduating from high school, all of you, okay? Congratulations. A round of applause for all of you making it through school, all of the teachers and school staff making it through this crazy, crazy school year. Congratulations. Give yourselves a pat on the back for doing such a good job making it through all of this, okay? All right, so with all of that being said, my friends, let us get to the books so we can find out what we're reading about. If you can hear the tropical music, I wish I had something with an umbrella in it, like some tropical juice with an umbrella in it. But I didn't think of that. The next time we read some warm weather books, I'm gonna have that because I actually have coconut shell cups with straws. So we're all going to have a nice tropical drink the next time we read about some warm weather summer things, okay? All right, let's get to the books. So, our first book about our warm weather animals is called Over in the Jungle. Over in the Jungle. A rainforest rhyme. Sorry about that. Over in the Jungle, a rainforest rhyme. This book is by Marianne Burks, illustrated by Jeanette Canyon. Over in the Jungle. Also, I read this book earlier today and I learned some things that I did not know. Okay. I was like, oh, I thought I knew about these animals, but I did not know all that there was to know about this one certain animal. So, this book is called Chameleons Are Cool. Chameleons Are Cool. This book is by Martin Jenkins, illustrated by Sue Shields. Chameleons are cool. I always thought chameleons were cool because, first of all, anything that can change its color whenever it wants to, that's cool. But there is a little secret that you may not have known about the changing of the colors of the chameleons. You're going to learn about that when we read it, okay? Also, now, we'll be getting to the cool part of the cool down part of Miss Hope's reading hour when we get to our chapter book. That's only if things don't heat up with the Unteachables, because already it's been a little bit of a trip, okay? And I'm like, oh wow, this is interesting, okay? So, The Unteachables by Gordon Corman. We will see what happens because I think we got to Elias Parker, the one who is 14 and driving a pickup truck. No, Parker Elias. I've mixed his name up, switched it up. So we are going to get to Parker. Oh, wait a minute. I wonder if his name is Parker Elias, because remember, he's dyslexic. Okay, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. Now, before we read our first book, do know that you have the opportunity to donate to the Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library because very, very, very soon we are going to have to make an order to get some more books. I didn't realize just how low. This is how you know we're getting low on books. In my book crate, it's not a crate, it's actually a big tote. There are a lot of books about Christmas and snow. There are some books in there about Christmas and stuff. I'm like, oh no, we're getting really low. So listen, please do donate any amount, okay, to the Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library. However much you donate, okay, it will all go to the books. If you donate a dollar goes all to the books. If you donate $10, it all goes to the books. If you donate $100, $1,000, $1,000,000, okay, listen, we're not going to limit ourselves, okay? It will all go to the books, all right? And if you were to donate $1,000,000, it will go to the books for the Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library. And guess what? We would send some books to some other place that needs books. Trust and believe we would do it. So, how can you donate? Via Cash App or by our email address. Cash App, HopeGM, HOPEGM, all one word, all lowercase. You can donate that way via Cash App, or you can send digital gift cards to our email address right down here in the ticker, okay? All right, now let's get to our first book. Over in the Jungle, a Rainforest Rhyme by Marianne Burks. All right, so, or is it Burkus? Forgive me if I butchered your name. You all know Miss Hope doesn't want to butcher anybody's name. So, and this is a Dawn Publications book. Oh, the pictures are so cool in here. Over in the jungle, where the trees greet the sun, lived a mother marmoset and her marmoset one. Swing, said the mother. I swing, said the one. So they swung and they hung where the trees greet the sun. See them swinging? Over in the jungle, wearing wings of shiny blue, lived a morpho butterfly and her little morphos too. Flit, said the mother. We flit, said the two. So they flitted and they fluttered, wearing wings of shiny blue. Look at those pretty butterflies. You all know Miss Hope loves butterflies. Over in the jungle, on a leafy canopy, lived a noisy mother parrot and her little parrots three. Squawk, said the mother. We squawk, said the three. So they squawked and they walked on a leafy canopy. Well, I bet you that leafy canopy is cool. They're probably catching a breeze. Over in the jungle, on a rainforest floor, lived a leafcutter ant and her little ants four. Scurry, said the mother. We scurry, said the four. So they scurried and they hurried on the rainforest floor. Over in the jungle, near a big beehive, lived a mother honey bear and her little honeys five. Scramble, said the mother. We scramble, said the five. So they scrambled and they rambled toward a big beehive. Oh, I guess that they would know how to handle a beehive. I would probably scurry away from the beehive. Over in the jungle, curled around some mossy sticks, lived a long mother boa and her little boas six. Squeeze, said the mother. We squeeze, said the six. So they squeezed and were pleased, curled around some mossy sticks. Over in the jungle, in bromeliad heaven, lived a poison dart frog and her little froggy seven. Hop, said the mother. We hop, said the seven. So they hopped and they plopped in bromeliad heaven. They're blue frogs. That is so cool. I would like to see one of them up close. Not touch them because I think it's poisonous, okay? Over in the jungle, where she knew how to wait, lived a mother ocelot, and her ocelots ate. Pounce, said the mother. We pounce, said the eight. So they pounced and they bounced and they learned how to wait. Yeah, usually when they're ready to pounce, they're probably looking at something, looking at their prey, and they're waiting for the perfect time to pounce so they can catch it. Over in the jungle, hanging from a heavy vine, lived a super slow sloth and her little sloths nine. Creep, said the mother. We creep, said the nine. So they crept, then they slept, hanging from a heavy vine. You gotta read kind of slow because sloths are super slow. Over in the jungle, in their rainforest den, lived a father howler monkey and his little howlers 10. Hoot, said the father. We hoot, said the 10. So they hooted and they hollered in their rainforest den. Wow, that's a lot of monkeys. 10 little howlers. That's a lot of noise and a lot of hoot. Okay. Over in the jungle. Come on. Let's take a peek. In the busy rainforest, they're playing hide and seek. Find us, say the children, from 10 to 1. When you find all the creatures, then this rhyme is done. Ho ho, look at that awesome picture. I can't even show it all on the screen. They're all hiding in the rainforest. So there are 10 howler monkeys, 9 sloths, 8 ocelots, 7 poison dart frogs, 6 boas, 5 honey bears, 4 leaf cutter ants, 3 parrots, 2 morpho butterflies, and 1 marmoset. Okay? That is a lot of little baby animals. Oh, it's upside down. The end. So I wanted to read you a little thing about the rainforest and what it's like. There's a part, so actually this whole rhyme is a song. So for those parents, parent friends, teacher friends, parent teacher friends who know how to play the piano, this is a cool song to sing with some of the young ones. So there's a part that says the rainforest community. Tropical rainforests are the richest forests on Earth. Even though these lush green forests cover only 7% of the Earth's land, more than half of the world's plants and animals live there. These exotic forests are found in a belt around the equator called the tropics. There are 4 layers of tropical rainforest where these animals live, from bottom to top. The forest floor, which is covered with leaf litter, where fungi and insects thrive, meaning that the leaves fall from the trees, so there's a lot of leaves on the ground. The understory, a darker environment made up of smaller trees over the ground. The canopy, which is filled with an incredible number of animals because of its thick leafy environment. And the emergence, where tops of trees rise above the canopy as high as 200 feet. That is amazing. Tropical rainforests are so important that they are called the lungs of the earth. The trees in the rainforest release oxygen, which we need to breathe. If you want to learn more about this remarkable ecosystem and its creatures, then it gives a website that you can go to. Isn't that cool? All right. So there's a lot of other cool things in here, like this part where it tells about all of the different animals that we read about. So, over in the jungle of Rainforest Rhyme, this was a really cool book. Really cool. So you can learn more about the rainforest and all of the animals that are there, and learn about how important the rainforest is to all of us who live on the earth, not just the people who live near the rainforest or in the rainforest, but because of what it does for the earth, all of that oxygen, it's important to all of us, okay? All right, so remember, it's hot, y'all. I have to take a sip of my cool water, okay? Hopefully you have a cool drink too, or even better, an ice pop. I was looking for ice pops recently and I couldn't find any. I'm like, wait a minute now. You guys should be selling ice pops already. Where are the ice pops? All right. So if any of you know if any of you in Philly know where they're selling the ice pops, like the ones that aren't frozen yet in the box where it's like 100 in there, let Miss Hope know. We need to know about those things, okay? Our next book, Chameleons Are Cool. You are going to love this book because I guarantee there are some things you thought you knew about chameleons, and then you're going to be like, oh, wow, I did not know that. I didn't know. All right, just a second, you guys, because I just realized I did not turn my phone down. I'm so glad I noticed before it was too late. So glad I noticed. All right. Chameleons Are Cool by Martin Jenkins. And I like the illustrations in this book too. Who is the publisher? Oh, let's find that out and then we'll go back. Oh, it's a Scholastic book, of course. Scholastic, I would like to talk to you. You make some great books. So before we get to the book, there's this beautiful blue page right here. Chameleons are lizards, and lizards are reptiles like snakes, crocodiles, and tortoises. There are about 4,000 kinds of lizards altogether, including around 120 different chameleons. Just over half of all the types of chameleons come from Madagascar, a big island off the east coast of Africa. Most of the others live in mainland Africa. Did not know that either, okay? Listen, I love learning new things with you all. I love it. It's good to learn something new every day. Some lizards eat bananas. Chameleons don't. Some lizards walk upside down on the ceiling. Chameleons can't. There are even lizards that glide from tree to tree. I'm sorry, there's even a lizard that glides from tree to tree. A chameleon certainly won't do that. But of all the different kinds of lizard, I still think chameleons are the best. Chameleons are cool. So gecko's toes are as sticky as Velcro. That's why they can go upside down. The flying lizard glides on wing-like flaps of skin. That's why they can go from tree to tree. And iguanas don't just eat bananas. They love all sorts of fruit. Look at all of those cool lizards. Oh, wait a minute. I think I might have missed the page. No, I didn't. Good. It's not that they're all that big. The biggest is only about the size of a rather small cat. It's called Austerlitz chameleon, and it lives in Madagascar. They can be really, really small, though. The smallest one could balance happily on your little finger. On your little finger. It's called the dwarf Brookesia, and it lives in Madagascar too. Whatever their size, chameleons usually get sick and die if they're kept as pets. They're much better off left in the wild. So look at the different sizes of those chameleons. There's the big one over here, and then the little tiny one that's balancing on the little finger right there. That is tiny. Also something I didn't know, because I thought all chameleons were pretty much the same size. And I suppose you wouldn't exactly call many of them beautiful. Their skin is wrinkly and bumpy, and they've got big bulgy eyes, while lots of them have the most ridiculous what? I mean, look at all these beautiful animals. They look beautiful to me. What's the one thing that you think is ridiculous on them? Huh. Let's see what they're talking about. They have the most ridiculous noses. I think their noses, I think it's their noses I like the best. I mean, yeah, they're all kind of different. I don't know if I would say ridiculous though. Yeah, their noses do look pretty cool. They're all different. Their mouths are pretty odd too. They turn down at the corners, which is why chameleons always look grumpy. So their mouths go like this. So it makes them look grumpy. See? It's just the way their mouth is. They could be happy. Actually, they don't just look grumpy. They are grumpy. Oh, okay. So if two chameleons bump into each other, things can get pretty lively. There's lots of puffing and hissing, and sometimes there's a real fight. And that's when chameleons do what they're most famous for. They change color. Chameleon will fight only with the same kind of chameleon as itself. Really? So you won't even fight with ones that are different? You're going to fight with your chameleon brothers and sisters? Well, that's like most brothers and sisters, right? So that's when they change color? When they're mad? When they're about to fight? Get the heck out of here. Let's find out some more about this. Lots of people think chameleons change color to match their surroundings. They don't. They change color when they're angry, or when they're too cold or too hot, or when they're sick. And there are some sorts of chameleons that hardly change color at all. Did you know that? What in the world? You learned something. We've learned several things new today, okay? They change color when they're angry, they're too cold or too hot, or they're sick. That is amazing. You know, that's kind of like us, especially if you can tell, you get red when you're mad, right? Sometimes when you're sick, you look a little pale. Even when you're hot, you can change color. Kind of the same. As a rule, though, chameleons don't bump into one another all that often. I suppose it wouldn't be fair to call them lazy, but they certainly don't move any more than they have to. And when they do, it's almost always incredibly slow. Oh, wow. Sometimes they stop completely in mid step, as if they've forgotten what they were supposed to be doing. But if you look closely, you'll see that they're actually carefully peering about. A chameleon's feet are shaped like pincers, for holding on to branches tightly. Wow, they move slow, kind of like the sloths. They are deliberate in their movements. We won't call them lazy. Now, peering about is something chameleons are rather good at. That's because their eyes can move separately from each other, unlike our eyes, which always move together. So while one eye is looking back over the chameleon's shoulder, the other one is scanning the branches ahead. As soon as it spots something tasty, the chameleon fixes both eyes on its prey and begins to creep forwards even more slowly than usual. Then it opens its mouth just a crack. And what happens? So let's read this first. Most of a chameleon's eye is covered in skin, like the rest of its body. There's a tiny peephole in the middle that the chameleon sees through. Wow. So it can look over its shoulder and see something tasty with the other eye, sees it, both eyes go looking at it, and it opens its mouth just a crack and oh, sorry, I didn't show you the other picture. I apologize. That's the eyes going two separate ways. They move independently of each other. That would be cool and look a little weird if we could do that too. I know there's probably somebody out there who has taught themselves how to do that, okay? Flap! Out shoots this amazingly long tongue with a sticky tip at the end, like a piece of well-chewed chewing gum. Chameleons feed on all sorts of creepy crawlies. The big ones also eat small birds, mice, and even other chameleons. Probably chameleons that are different species than them. Not the same kind of chameleon. Just like they won't fight anyone else but the same kind of chameleon, they'll eat every other type. Then the tongue flies back, and there's a lot of chomping and chewing, and perhaps a few bits of insect leg fluttering to the ground. And after that, the chameleon just sits there for an hour or two, doing nothing very much at all, looking quite exhausted and still grumpy after all that hard work. Most lizards gulp their food down without chewing it, but chameleons grind everything up thoroughly. Wow, chameleons are a lot different than other lizards in a whole lot of ways. Poor insects. It's lunch to them. And there you have it. How could you possibly resist a pocket-sized, bad-tempered, color-changing, swivel-eyed, snail-paced, long-tongued sharpshooter? If chameleons aren't cool, then I don't know what is. Wow. The end. Wow. We learned a whole lot about chameleons today. Read a whole lot of cool stuff that I didn't know. I honestly, ever since I was a little kid, I thought the chameleons changed color to match their surroundings. No! If they're too hot or too cold or sick or angry, that's why they change color. I thought chameleons moved fast. No, they moved slow. I thought that they ate fruits and leaves and berries like other some other lizards. No, they eat insects and other animals, including other types of chameleons. We learned a lot of new stuff today, y'all. These two books right here, if you have some young ones who love animals, who want to learn about different animals, who are interested in zoology and going over to other countries to find out about cool animals, these are the two books. These two right here. These two. Very good books. So glad I got to read them with you, and I'm so glad that we got to learn these new things together today. I love learning new stuff. Love learning new stuff. Oh, my sister's watching. Hi, Joy. So, my sister is one of those amazing frontline workers who have kept people safe during the pandemic and this time that we've been in COVID-19. She is a nurse here hero, and I'm so proud of her. Okay. Sorry, I had to shout out my sister. She's a nurse hero. Kudos, thumbs up, pats on backs to all of the nurse heroes out there. Okay, now we got to change the vibe, y'all. We have been in the tropics. Now it's time to cool down or possibly heat up. Okay, because these unteachables, we haven't even gotten to all the students yet. Okay, but I can tell that some of them are a trip. And we are going to learn about why they are in SCS 8. We're going to learn why they're in there. The special self contained class for the eighth graders. All right, so last we read, we learned that Mr. Parker Elias, which I have a feeling his name is actually Elias Parker, but remember, he has dyslexia. They didn't say it right out, but they talked about, they talked about when he sees words, the letters being switched around and backwards, which is a hallmark of dyslexia. So we find out that's part of the reason why he is in SCS 8, that self contained classroom. And we find out why he is driving the truck. He's driving the truck because his parents are farmers and he has to help them take the produce to the different stores and markets so that they can sell the produce that they grow. And he's a good grandson. He takes his grandmom to the senior center every day, but his grandmother's memory is getting a little wonky. So sometimes she doesn't remember things, or she thinks, oh, well, let's do this right now before we go. And she forgets, I got to get to school on time, Graham. I can't sit down and eat meatloaf and mashed potatoes. And I already had breakfast. That's dinner food. So let's get back to learning more about Mr. Parker Elias. Okay, where did we end off? There were a lot of paper airplanes sailing around the room for the first few days. I think Mr. Kermit would get mad, but he never made a peep about them. So the airplane stopped. What's the point of making them if you couldn't get a rise out of the teacher? Eventually, it got so boring, the only possible thing to do was the worksheet. It's kind of hard for me though, because the letters get all jumbled up. Even if it's math, they never just ask what's 5 plus 3. They have to make it into a story about 5 brown rabbits and 3 white rabbits having a rabbit cotillion. That's where I get lost. Cotillion looks like licit loon to me. I'm hunched over my paper, trying to make heads or tails of what seems to be unbreakable code, when at the desk beside me, Kiana sets down her pen and peers at my paper, which is as untouched as the minute I got it. You haven't started yet, she hisses. Sure, I have, I replied defensively. She isn't sold. What question are you on? One, I shoot back. I'm taking it slow, okay? I return to work, staring at the letters, willing them to arrange themselves into a form that makes sense to me. I guess I look like a scientist peering into a microscope because she blurts, you can't read? Yes, I can, I say defensively. I'm just pacing myself. She reaches over and plants a finger on question one. What does that say? There's no talking in class, I tell her. You want to get us in trouble? Mr. Kermit takes a long, loud slurp of his giant coffee. Read it, she orders. And I don't. It's not that I can't, but take time. I don't feel like it, I mumble. Parker, she urges, this is stupid. You can get help with this. You just have to tell the teacher. But nobody can help you if you don't know there's a problem. If they don't know there's a problem. My eyes find Mr. Kermit. His attention never wavers from his crossword puzzle. Even though Raheem and Barnstorm are sword fighting with rulers, and Aldo leaves the room altogether. If I have to depend on Mr. Kermit for help, I'm going to be older than he is before I get any. Chapter 4. Aldo Braff. The first time I saw Kiana, I knew she was going to be a pain in my neck. It was the first day of school, the marshmallow roast. She was the new girl, so I was nice. I took a pencil, speared a marshmallow, and made room for her around the fire. Talk about rude. She refused to take it because it was unsanitary. That's the last time I try to be a gentleman. You know those bossy types who think they know everything? That's Kiana. One time, I'm in the cafeteria when she comes up to me and tells me to stop kicking the candy machine. If I'm kicking the candy machine, I'm doing it for a very good reason. Who put her in charge of the world? She grabs my arm and hauls me away from the machine. What's wrong? I want a Zagnut, I tell her in fury. It gave me a mouse. So, man, she really isn't from around here. At Greenwich Middle School, everybody knows two things about me. One, when I want something, nothing stands in my way. And two, I don't like coconut. I look around. There's dead silence in the cafeteria, and nobody's eyes are on me. They know better than to get between me and a Zagnut bar. All except Kiana. Maybe all Californians are like that. They can't mind their own business. She asked me, if you keep on kicking it, will the Zagnut come out? Maybe, I said stubbornly. She shrugs. Then go ahead. But here's the thing, I don't want to kick it anymore. She ruined it for me. The worst part is she's in SCS 8, so I can never get away from her. We spend the whole day in room 117, except for lunch in the cafeteria and phys ed, which is in the gym with a couple of other classes. The only surefire place to avoid her is the boys' room. She hasn't followed me in there so far. Our teacher, Mr. Kermit, is probably in his 50s, but he looks about 900. Actually, he looks like he's dead already. Hunched over his desk, his eyes half closed. He never moves a muscle. It's hard to tell if he's even breathing. I'm amazed he isn't swinging from the light fixture for all the coffee the guy drinks. Mostly, he's working on a really complicated crossword puzzle. He hates my guts. At least I think he does. All the teachers in this dump have it out for me. So why should he be any different? He's dumb too. He doesn't even realize that we call him Rat Ribbit. They call him Ribbit. There's this nut job in our class, Mateo Hendrickson. He pointed out that the only Kermit he ever heard of was Kermit the Frog. Turns out Mateo's a fan of the Muppets. Not just Star Trek, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Halo, and every other comic book ever printed. Anyway, a nickname was born. Every morning when the teacher walks in, late as usual, we start ribbiting. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Mr. Kermit doesn't even notice. Either that or he thinks it's a compliment. As a teacher, he stinks. Not that I've had any good ones. He never gives a lesson. In fact, he hardly ever speaks out loud. He just passes out these stupid worksheets all day long. Boring doesn't even begin to describe it. With a normal teacher, if you don't do the work, you get in trouble. Not Ribbit. He acts like he couldn't care less if we do his worksheets or not. I've told turned in every assignment and he's never graded a single one or handed it back, Kiana complains. What's he doing with them? Maybe eating them, I suggest. He's weird enough. She rolls her eyes at me. She's annoying. But it's not like the other kids in SCS 8 are any better. There's Parker Elias, who has to be the dumbest person in the whole school. Remember the kid in the first grade who, when he got picked to read aloud, everybody else wanted to drink bleach? Well, Parker still reads that way today, one word at a time, at the speed of molasses, sounding out every letter. This is the idiot they give a special driver's license. They give a special driver's license to. No one's safe. There's Barnstorm Anderson, super jock. Super jerk would be more like it, but I guess he's both. He's an unstoppable running back, an amazing point guard, and a lights out pitcher, which is why the school gives him an automatic get out of jail free card. That makes me mad. Why should scoring touchdowns mean you get special treatment? But here's the thing. Last spring, Barnstorm blew out his knee. He's on crutches now, banned from sports for a whole year. And by that time, he won't be in middle school anymore. So all the teachers have suddenly started to notice that the last time he turned in a homework assignment was never. That's the kind of person who lands in our class, like Elaine Ostrover, who sits in the back row. She has to be 6'2" and is solid as an oak tree. She hardly ever opens her mouth, but when she does, her voice comes out a low rumble, like a subwoofer. Kiana asks me about her. That's Elaine, I reply. Rhymes with pain. She frowns. Everybody says that, rhymes with pain. What does it mean? You don't want to mess with Elaine, I advise her seriously. Last year, she headbutted a kid down the stairs because he was looking at her funny. Wiped out like 15 people. The line outside the nurse's office stretched halfway to the cafeteria. If that's not pain, I don't know what is. Kiana checks out Elaine's head, which looks like one of those giant statues on that island from the cover of our world geography textbook. She has to register her head as a deadly weapon with the FBI I put in. Kiana skewers me with a sharp glance. So I say, well, not really, but she definitely tore the door off one of the bathroom stalls and used it to crush the laminating machine, I added. I mean, I wasn't there, but everybody knows it. You're scared of her, Kiana decides. I'm not scared. I can handle Elaine, rhymes with pain. If you don't say the full name, it increases your chances of being the next victim. I just don't want to get in trouble for fighting, that's all. She nods. Because you're the big expert at not getting in trouble. By the time I realize that I'm mad at her for saying that, she's on the other side of the room, and the chance to yell at her is lost forever. Raheem Barkley is supposed to be this amazing artist, although all I've ever seen him do is doodle. I guess his doodles are pretty good, if you're into that kind of thing. He drew one of Ribbit. That's a dead ringer for our teacher. The sunken cheeks, the dark circles around the eyes, just the right amount of gray in the thinning hair. Raheem blew one part of it. He drew the coffee mug too big, almost the size of a trash barrel. Maybe that's how he ended up in SCS 8, which isn't exactly for geniuses. It doesn't help that Raheem's stepdad is in a rock band. They practice all night, so Raheem sleeps most of the day. One day, Mateo welcomes me to class with a whole story in this deep throat-clearing gibberish that sounds a lot like he's trying to spit out a bug he swallowed by mistake. I don't appreciate being messed with, especially when I'm not even sure how I'm being messed with. What did you say? I demanded. It's a Klingon greeting, Mateo explains cheerfully. It means, may you die well. My eyes widen. You want me to die? The Klingons are a warlike race, Mateo says quickly. Dying in battle is an honor. They love that. But I don't. From now on, if you've got anything to say to me, say it in English, not some phony language. Klingon is not phony, Mateo cuts me off, outraged. It may have started out on Star Trek, but it's turned into a legitimate language with a dictionary and an alphabet. There are even regional accents depending on which part of the Klingon home world you come from. In the South, for example, he keeps talking, lecturing, clueless that my blood is boiling. And the other kids are laughing, like it's a big joke that this little creep is making fun of me. What's the matter with you? I shout at them. Doesn't anybody have my back? Kiana steps forward, struggling to keep a straight face. She reaches for my arm. Aldo, it's the last straw that this California girl who isn't even from around here thinks I'm the entertainment. A soupy fog swirls around my head, tinged with orange, until I can actually feel the heat from it. I've got to get out of here before I explode, leaving bone fragments and bits of skin all over the walls of the room. I hate this class. I pick up my backpack. I hurl it through the open door just as Mr. Kermit walks into the room. The heavy bag misses his head by about a quarter of an inch. At that point, I'm so mad I don't even care. In my white hot haze, it would make no difference to me if the backpack knocks the teacher's block off and I get suspended, expelled, or banished from the town. I do notice through my rage that Ribbit doesn't flinch. Not even when I storm past him, slamming the door behind me hard enough to raise the school off its foundation. Just like that, I'm alone in the hall, barely sure how I even got there. I slam my fist into a locker. It hurts, but I hope it hurts the locker even more. The locker is attached to the wall, and the wall is part of the school. And it's the school's fault that I'm so mad. I hit it a few more times with an open hand because that hurts a bit less. I don't feel better either. I'm sorry, I don't feel better exactly. It's more like every blow lets off a little more steam, so the pressure inside my head goes down. I'm still ticked off, but I can live with it. I slump against the lockers, breathing hard. The guidance counselor says I have anger management problems. They don't know what they're talking about. I managed to get angry better than anybody else in the whole school. No problem. The door of room 115 opens and this lady walks up to me. At first, I think she's another 8th grader. That's how young she looks. But no, she's definitely an adult. And the way she takes hold of my wrist, gentle but with authority, screams teacher. I've never seen her before, so she must be new. Come with me. She knocks on the door of SCS 8. Mr. Kermit? I shoulder my backpack and stand behind her. We wait at the door, but there's no answer. He's probably in the middle of a puzzle, I offer in a subdued voice. Puzzle? She echoes. Like a crossword? Mr. Kermit is really into them. She knocks again, then opens the door. It sticks a little, and she has to put her shoulder into it. I guess I slammed it really hard. She leads me inside. Kiana is looking right at me. I feel myself starting to get mad again, but only for a second. It doesn't usually happen twice in a row. Mr. Kermit? I'm Emma Fountain, the woman introduces herself. I have the class next door. So far this year, not a single thing has gotten a reaction out of Mr. Ribbit. That streak ends here. The puzzle forgotten. He rises to his feet really slowly, never taking his eyes off of her. They're practically bugging out of his head. He blurts out, I'd know you anywhere. She smiles, which makes her seem even younger. Mom said to tell you hi, but that's not why I'm here, she indicates. Is this your student? Mr. Kermit looks blank. It hits me. He doesn't have a clue, even though I nearly took his head off with my backpack 90 seconds ago. My own teacher doesn't know me from Jack the Ripper. Of course it's your student, Kiana pipes up. It's Aldo. Well, he's making a lot of noise in the hall, Miss Fountain announces. That's not being a bucket filler. Mr. Kermit goggles. A what? A bucket filler is someone loving and caring who fills other people's invisible buckets with good wishes and positive reinforcement that make them feel special. She regards Aldo disapprovingly. Someone who creates a disturbance and makes it impossible for other children to learn is not a bucket filler. That's a bucket dipper. Suddenly, I realize what she's talking about. It's from this picture book that's supposed to teach little kids to be nice to each other. It's really big, in about first grade. It's an elementary school thing, Mr. Kermit, Kiana supplies helpfully. Just because this is middle school doesn't mean we shouldn't treat each other with respect, Miss Fountain says earnestly. It worked for my kindergarten class last year, and we should have higher expectations for children who are even older. Right, Mr. Kermit? Oh, I think I'm gonna end there. I'm gonna end there. I want to keep reading, but I'm gonna end there because then we're gonna go over time. Oh. So, who is this Mrs. Fountain? I have I have a theory on who Mrs. Fountain is. I think Mrs. Fountain is probably one of Mr. Kermit's old students, and she's become a teacher. So he is the teacher right next door to one of his old students who has become a teacher. So, is this going to be the thing that makes Mr. Kermit come out of his angry fog at what happened with the cheating scandal and make him want to be a good teacher again? That is a question, okay? So, we will find that out on our wonderful Wednesday broadcast as we read some more of the Unteachables. We're learning something about all of his students. So, Kiana is the student who she's only living with her step parents because her mother is shooting a movie. She's upset about having to be there with her father and the stepmother. Then there's Parker Elias, who has reading problems because he has dyslexia. Then there's Aldo, who has anger issues. And then we learn some other things about some of the other kids and their home issues and things like. So we're learning a lot about the students. I cannot wait to see how this is all going to pan out with Mr. Kermit and what kind of teacher he's going to be able to be to these students. And if these students will change at all. Okay, I'm excited. You guys can tell I'm excited about the story already. So, thank you all so much for being here on this hot, marvelous Monday. We learned some great things about some hot weather animals. We read about some things that are news to us about chameleons. And now we're learning some more about these students in SCS 8 in the Unteachables. All right. Well, with all of that being said, I'm so glad that I was able to be here with you today, that we were all able to share in Miss Hope's reading hour today. With that being said, I will see you next